Welcome back to another Books Misremembered, the plots of books that I misremember. We're looking at Fever House by Keith Rosson. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Keith. Shoot me a message if I'm not, or leave a comment down below. You can find links to the book in the description. Those are affiliate links to help me out. And like and subscribe. And without further ado, we're going to get into it. Fever House is a nightmare of a novel. It is a fast-paced, gory, brutalistic survival horror novel, and it takes place around relics. What are relics, you might be asking yourself? Well, our book opens with two individuals who go and collect money for a guy who I would consider to be a small-time gangster. And they're collecting money from deadbeats. They successfully get the money off of one guy, and then they go to the next one. Well, this individual is a junkie in his home with his girlfriend, and they threaten him, but he doesn't seem too threatenable. At that point, they check the fridge because he says it's in the fridge or something's in the fridge, and they find a human hand. Just the hand hanging out in the fridge in a plastic bag. Why not? Why wouldn't you have a human hand? The guy says he found it, and whenever they try to collect the money more, he ends up pulling out one of his own teeth and throwing it on the ground for fun. It's not normal. So they take him and the hand to see the fixer, who is the father-in-law of the small-time gangster. The father-in-law was a police officer who's retired and then started fixing things for his son-in-law. We all need a father-in-law like that in our lives. Am I right? I got one. They're excellent. They're excellent. Shout out to you, Zizi. So, the kicker here is the guy gets put in the chair. The fixer's there. He's like, look, I don't want to cause you pain. Just pay us. And the guy's like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he attacks the fixer. And they end up shooting the guy who owes them money. Well, that doesn't go over well at all. So now the fixer's been shot, and they have to clean up this body. They have to tell the gangster that they shot the guy. But lo and behold, the fixer disappears with the hand. Now, something that happened on the drive over while they had the hand in their custody is they started having these urges to hurt each other. And these two guys are like best buds. So it's very difficult for them to kind of correlate why this is happening, but they talk about it, and that's how close they are. They can be open about this, and they're discussing it because they think the hand has something to do with it, and lo and behold, the hand does. Now, if this at all sounds interesting to you, I will drop one more hint of lore, which will tell you much more what you need to know about this book and its following sequel, which I'm so excited to get into. If you die in the presence of the hand, you come back. If you bite someone after you've come back, their wound will start blistering, festering, and they will come back. The hand is the harbinger of the zombie apocalypse, and it is so well done that by the time you get an hour into the audiobook, which I would suggest, or the paperback book, if you're a person who likes to read, you're going to accept it for what it is. Because there's a government agency that's been set up to collect these relics and study them. Well, the government agency is freaking out because the hand's gone. They go to this junkie's house to try to find the hand, but instead they find the girlfriend. Well, she tells them that the hand and the guy were taken by these people that they owed money to. Long story short, they find the dudes, and at this point in time, the gangster has received his hand back. We can pause here if you'd like to exit to read this book on your own. Now, we also have correlations back at headquarters of the secret underground facility that they are practicing with a song that is an audio recording that makes people go insane, and it makes them react violently when they hear it. It completely changes them. So if you're thinking in relation with the hand and the voice, you can have this situation where the hand's influence brings people back from the dead once they die in its presence. Well, that influence grows as the hand is in the world. Then you have this audio device which makes people go insane and attack each other indiscriminately, therefore killing more people, therefore creating zombies, therefore perpetuating a cycle of abuse, aggression, and death. Very well done. Good job, Keith. Take my hat off to you, good sir. I take my hat off. You did zombies in a unique, new, interesting way. And you also pulled in hell, because it turns out that the hand and the voice, the voice is the voice of the devil. And he's asking for whoever's talking to him in the recording to make him a fever house. But it turns out that this recording fits into a song, which was written 30 years ago perfectly. The song belonged to a band called the Blank Letters. I don't understand what that means or is in reference to, but the lead guitarist of this band, who was married to the lead vocalist at the time, has died and is gone. His wife, because he killed himself, she has become a shut-in, and her son, since his father's death, has kind of been aimless, wandering, if you will, and he comes into the employ of the gangster. Yeah, the gangster, whose henchman had that dude who pulled his own tooth out, and then later the fixer who killed the dude and then took the hand, and then they found the hand, and they found the dude who took the hand, and he died trying to saw off his own hand so that he could duct tape the fake hand onto where his other hand used to be. That guy. I didn't tell you that part. Read the books. There's so much I don't tell you. These books are full of so many good parts. So, the son is the collector. He finds rare and interesting things for the gangster. The gangster collects rare and interesting things, like the hand. Well, the boy brings the hand to the gangster because the hand was given to him by Dent. Dent is the name of one of the two bruisers. I've given them names now because he's got a dent in his head. Long story short, we're going to call him Dent. So Dent gives the hand to the collector and says, you have to give this to the gangster. The collector meets the gangster and gives him the hand. They walk outside of the bar. The gangster has the hand in his grasp, and then the gangster gets shot by the government agents. They've already been in one firefight that day. Read the book to find out more. But now they're in another one, and they kill the gangster. Well, collector takes the hand and takes off running. Then he stops and realizes he can't have this thing whispering to him. It's creepy. He shoves it under a dumpster and continues on his way. Fantastic. Now, the reason I bring up those characters is the song and the voice. They call it the hand and the voice. And the voice makes people go insane, but it mixes into this song that they wrote. So this woman who is kind of a homebody in her apartment, she can't go outside. She can walk around a very strict loop or routine with her son, and he's trying to grow that slowly over time. Well, the agents know that the collector took the hand, so they go to her apartment, and they basically abduct her after killing the old man who works in the apartment building and kind of maintains everything. And she's completely freaked out, and they're talking about how her son is in deep trouble, and they're interrogating her, and so she gets taken to the black site. Now, we have to talk about what's his name? Saint Michael? Saint Michael is an angel, or a demon. It's never clearly told which. We do know that Saint Michael can predict the future, and he can see things and solve problems from outside the confines of our known reality. He does it in an interesting, strange way, where he tells you about pizza in the sky, and they're like, oh, Sky Pizzas over on 8th Street. That's where they're meeting, and that's where we're going to shoot the gangster outside of, which is how they figure out where to go to get the gangster. And that's how they figure out where to go to get the woman from the apartment. And it's because St. Michael's able to give them this information. But you have to ask nicely, and then if St. Michael won't do it, you have to torture him. It seems like they go from asking nicely to torture, just like way too quickly for my taste. But you know what? They're an evil, evil organization. And really, I've never tortured anyone. What is my taste, for torture? It's like having somebody say, I think you put too much ketchup on your steak. Excuse me, sir, you don't eat red meat. Oh, you know what? You're right. You put as much ketchup on your steak as you want. So, basically, they torture him by cutting off his wings. He hates that. But one time he grew his wings back, and a whole bunch of people died. So, they just have to keep sawing them off. But they can saw them off nicely, or they can saw them off with like a rusty spoon. And that's the difference, is how well do you work with us? Do you get the rusty spoon today, or do you get the hacksaw? Questions that are asked, which is why you should read this book, because it's that kind of brutal experience. If you're looking for horror with a jagged edge, welcome to Fever House by Keith Rosson. Top notch. So, Saint Michael is there as well, and they're all gonna move slowly because shit's going sideways in the city. The Hand's influence is growing slowly, and they've brought people back. Well, they get called, the government agents get called to the morgue because something weird's happening. When they show up at the morgue, all the zombies crowd around the front door and then burst through and run at them. So these are running zombies because these aren't like the living dead. This is like people who've come back from hell. Great. And the idea is, by creating this fever house, which that's what it is, it's going to be called, is a fever house. That's their code name for the zombie apocalypse. They are preparing the way for Satan. They don't want to do this. They didn't intend to do this, but it's now it's happening, and it's just gonna keep happening. So hey, it's about time for Satan to show up. Isn't that great? We then have an amazing sequence in the book where the collector goes down to Mexico with a friend, and the friend is kind of a finder on the internet. And while they're in Mexico, they're there to hunt down the Eye. And you kind of get this background lore that the fortune tellers in roadside places and that sort of thing, they're real. They're just real very rarely. And when they're real, they have intuitions very rarely. And so they basically have come to the conclusion that magic in this world, demonism, Satanism, this is real stuff. And so they go down to Mexico to get the Eye. The Eye is held by a collector who tells them what the Eye does. So we know the voice makes you go insane and harm people. The Hand makes you come back from the dead and want to kill people, and then yourself. The Eye, if you look at it too long, will show you when you die. And the old man then tells them, I was so happy to see you, because I've seen you before, both of you, sitting here with me. Then he takes out a long knife, and he just right in front of him, because that's what he was supposed to do. That's what the Eye showed him. And then they take the Eye. So now they have the Eye. Now when all three are used together, and this is the one thing Michael didn't tell them, when all three are used together, that's when the end will come. Well, Michael and the woman are evacuated from the black site because, the fever house. The two agents make it back, Agent A, Agent B. Agent B is haunted by something he did, which got him put on this detail, and Agent A is just a cult member who has drunk the off-brand Kool-Aid flavor water powder to no degree. And so, upon seeing the black site being abandoned, Agent A makes a decision very quickly in their mind. I'm going to kill Agent B and leave because he's dead weight. And then Agent A shoots Agent B in the head. What we find out later is Agent A has been kind of manipulated by the leader of this black site government agency to believe that if she did not work for him, then she wouldn't have worked for anyone, because she broke security one time while she was in, Guantanamo's training facility, wherever they send FBI, CIA agents. I don't know anything about that. It's as foreign to me as torturing people. It's not foreign to them, though. It's called advanced interrogation techniques. Look it up. So then we have her shooting the guy in the head, and she kind of gives the background, and that chapter ends with her saying, well, that's probably why at the last minute I pulled the shot. And then we cut to the man on the ground, which was a phenomenal scene because I hated that guy dying, but I was like, okay, he wasn't really a main character, but I kind of liked him. No, he wakes up, his eyes totally swollen shut. He has to like approach the front of the military base and talk to the soldier there to try to let him out. And the soldier's like, dude, what happened to you? I have to call this in. And then another soldier runs up and is like, hey, we're going into the city. What do you mean we're going into the city? They called us in. Something's happening in the city. What's happening in the city is it's the zombie apocalypse. But they go into the city. And so this guy gets out of the base and goes into the city himself. And this part of the book is the best part of the book because you get to see the zombie apocalypse happening in just firsthand 100%. And the scariest part isn't the apocalypse. The scariest part is Dent is in his vehicle driving around after he's escaped from the hospital. And in the vehicle, he sees these two young adults behind him going up the line of cars, one on either side of the cars, because it's gridlock. And the guy on the driver's side knocks on the window, and then demands money or food or whatever they have of value. Then they give it to the other guy on the other side with his bag, or the other guy comes around and collects it and goes back to the other side. And they just go up. Now let's say you don't give them anything. They both bend down and they put their knives in your tires, which is phenomenal. I mean, it's great. It's like the best little shakedown in apocalyptic history. I've never heard of anything like that. It was delightful to hear it. When new things happen in this day and age of overabundance, it tastes wonderful. Fever House is like that. Fever House is like a new flavor of Coca-Cola that you taste for the first time and are like, wow. I never knew I liked brown sugar lemon Coke, but brown sugar lemon Coke is phenomenal. So, that's what this book is like. They get up to Dent's car, though, and Dent's like, go away, and he's got a gun. And they're like, no. And then he ends up like just completely demolishing one of them. It's a beautiful scene. So, then you have the agent who's wandering through the city, who's seeing these horrible things happening to the people around him in the city streets. Dudes running for their life wearing nothing but a pair of sneakers, and then like somebody's chasing after him, and just insane stuff. And he gets to the police station and he goes in, and then when he's in the police station, he is helping them, and he goes onto the scaffolding that's surrounding the police station, and the police officers up there, even in plain clothes, have rifles out, and they are just shooting indiscriminately at the crowd of people who are brawling in the street beneath them. And it's because they don't know what the hell's going on. This has gone to shit so fast. And really, truthfully, what is going on? What would you do? I mean, the officers who go out there and try to control it end up getting, tackled and eaten alive. And you're watching this happen from the windows, from the scaffolding. What do you do? And what happens is you just slip into hell yourself. You become the demons you're fighting. And they have. I think it's a metaphor for police brutality, for the police shootings which occur. It's one of those things that, like, maybe we should have an expiration date on our police officers. You can only carry a gun and do, street cop work for so many years, 6 years, 8 years. Then you're done. You're on a desk, or like the military, you're discharged with a thank you very much. Go find another job somewhere, and enjoy your pension when you retire, because you got it. You earned it. You put in the time. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but he decides he needs to leave because his partner's still out there, even though his partner shot him in the head. So one of the individuals helps him leave and gives him a sidearm, and the guy gets out of there. And it's tough. It's tough out there in the city. But he does make it to the home of the collector. Now, that's when his partner shows back up. But who else came to the home of the collector? Dent. And Dent, well, he's been bitten, and he's had a horrible run of luck. So he ends up eating the partner. And then the partner takes out her gun after she kills Dent and kills herself. And unalives herself. And it's because she understands that she will be turned into a zombie if she doesn't. And she's so furious with this individual, the man, for being, in her own terminology and view, so weak as to allow this to occur to her. And at herself for being weak to not really kill him when she had the chance, because she'd still be alive. Now, they wanted to eliminate him for a reason I'm not going to divulge to you. Read the book. It's a great book. But let's say you don't want to read the book. They wanted to eliminate him because his uncle worked for a massive weapons manufacturing firm, and his uncle's the one who pulled the strings to get him stationed here at this black site location. And the reason for that is because the person that he killed was a protester at I want to say it was a Black Lives Matter movement, and he had a BB gun, but he had spray painted it black, and he had covered up the orange tip, and so the guy thought he had a gun, and he was going to start shooting at the police. So he puts him in a chokehold, and he has a moment to release him from the chokehold, but he doesn't. Instead, he continues to hold him in the chokehold, and he kills him. And it becomes one of those horrible moments where it's, like the police did this and everything, and that's why he had to get sent to a black site, is because his face was everywhere in the nation, and he was being attempted to be tracked down by all of these people because he basically did a Zimmerman situation, which is horrible that happened, but that is fictitious, so keep that in mind. Zimmerman really happened in real life, and American as a judicial system let him go. So we should really be we're the monsters here. Is that what that book is trying to tell us? Who knows? So it turns out that the collector's father and his writings have a lot to do with this, because he mentions Fever House. The recording is the recording of his father's voice. The eye is theoretically his father's eye. And the hand is his father's hand. The man has dabbled in dark magic and made a deal with a devil. And he has to make that devil a fever house, which he's doing. The collector's mother was taken from the black site with St. Michael and the rest of the people in that group on an airplane. The airplane was brought down in Chicago by some fighter jets who escorted it down. Then St. Michael, when the guy went to talk to him, told the guy, "There's an eye out there." And the guy said, "What? There's an eye? You never told me." And about that time, St. Michael grabs him and crushes him in his embrace before St. Michael himself dies. Because St. Michael was only supposed to be alive to the point to bring about the fever house. He wasn't supposed to witness it happening. He was just supposed to see it start. And it started, and now he can die. And so he kills the man and dies himself. The man is found dead in the arms of St. Michael, and the woman escapes the facility by knocking out some agents and stuff and running through the streets of Chicago. But she realizes she's in Chicago. She's played in Chicago before. That home right over there is the home of her previous bandmate. So she runs throughout the streets of Chicago and finds his home and knocks on the door, and he answers the door, and she has a gun with her she got from the previous agent. This guy is a really chill guy. He lets her in, he asks if everything's okay, she needs to use the bathroom, she goes in the bathroom and she's splashing water on her face, and she hears the phone ring outside the door, but then she sees something different. Shower curtain moves to the side, or the door opens, I don't know. And there is her dead husband, standing there, one hand missing, one eye missing, rotten, puffed up from being underwater, bloated, and she freaks out and fires at him. She has a gun. That's a totally acceptable solution. However, outside the door, the phone rings. The man's phone. And he answers, and she hears her song being played. See, the weapons manufacturers, they had a plan. They were going to play the song on the cell phones of all the people within the affected city. And that was going to drive everyone insane. Therefore, black sighting an entire city of Seattle and then probably nuking the hell out of it. But instead, somebody made a mistake. Nobody knows how the mistake was made. These things happen. They're funny little errors. Am I right? When you want to play the song that turns people into madmen on a select number of cell phones in a very small section of the city, but instead you play it on your global network, and it just keeps spreading and playing throughout the world. That's an oopsie, right? And that's what happened here. So she runs out of the bathroom to escape the zombie guy, and her friend is a crazed zombie dude himself coming after her, screaming, and she runs out into the streets, and other people are screaming as well. And that's where we end Fever House. The sequel's out now. Look in the description down below. Again, Keith Rosson, thank you so much for your service to the literary arts. This was a phenomenal new edition, and I look forward to checking out the rest of your writings. I will see you guys next time. It is good to be seen. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until we meet again. Bye, y'all.